Have I got this? Yay! Okay, we are on live and just make myself comfy. Okay, so I'm excited about today's topic, how to create a personalized nutrition program, because this is the time of the year where I see everyone going, oh my gosh, which diet plan do I follow? And the truth is, we know that most of the time diets fail, which is why I always teach how to create something that is more sustainable. So we're going to be on this live for about 30 minutes today. So if you watch the replay afterwards, then you can still leave some questions for me, and I will make sure that I reply to any questions that I see related to this. Throughout, if anything that I say resonates, then give me some love and ask questions throughout. I'm always keen, as you're going to see in this, to really make sure that you're getting the support that you need to create individualized and personalized plans that work. So, for those that who don't know me and are watching me for the first time, hello, my name is Elika. I'm a certified health coach. I also trained as a plant-based chef. I work as a food consultant as well, supporting businesses to create healthy, exciting, rebellious menus, and obviously as a nutritionist. So I personally have my own vision in life to transform the health of 1 million people. And one of the ways that I do that is by, self-studying 2 hours every day on the topic of health and wellness, making sure I'm always on top of the latest research papers that are around, as well as looking at health from a holistic approach. So even though today we're talking about health from nutrition, there are obviously so many more elements of health, which those of you that are interested in having one-on-one health coaching with me, you will get to see that so clearly that there are so. Can you see that my connection is a bit unstable? So let me just check. That's okay. Seems to just bear with me because YouTube is giving me signs trying to help me. That's okay. We're the same. There is nobody else like you in this world, exactly the same as you anyway. So, even when you look at identical twins, right? Same DNA, different blueprint in their body. So the thing is, when people look at diets, they always look at things like, what does my friend do? What does my personal trainer do? What's my colleague doing that's working? What's my family member doing? And this is why they fail. Because think about your life and think about the feelings that you feel in your body that no one else knows that you're feeling, the thoughts that come into your mind, the way that you plan the day, what you have in your day, the things that you enjoy that make you happy. Just consider that and how different it is to everybody else around you. And now you can understand why it makes sense that there is no one diet that's suitable for everybody. So the other thing I want you to know is about microbiome. So know this, all across our body was covered in millions, trillions of microbes. And these microbes are viruses, bacteria, yeast. So that's why it makes no sense for us to be scared of a virus, because we are made of virus, And so every single person has their own ecosystem all over their body. And a lot of these microbes are kept in the gut. And so the gut is known as the second brain. And the gut speaks directly to our brain through something we call the vagus nerve system. And it's a communication, an ongoing communication, feeding information from what's in your gut, what you're feeling in your gut, to your brain, and vice versa. Which is why so many people say comments like, oh, I just had this gut feeling, and why you have things like butterflies in your stomach when you're feeling anxious about something. That's all because of your second brain, your gut. Now, from a nutrition point of view, which is so many other areas that we can cover about our gut outside of nutrition that focus on health, but from a nutrition point of view, every single bit of food that you eat is creating your ecosystem. So imagine ecosystems like the Amazon, right? All the bugs, all the trees, all the plants, the atmosphere, everything is speaking to that ecosystem. And that's exactly what's going on in your gut. And so every single piece of food that you eat is giving you, your gut, either the right or the wrong things for its ecosystem. So when people take drinks, like there's a famous yogurt drink, I don't even want to name the brand because it's so terrible, but a famous yogurt drink that people drink for good bacteria that's also full of sugars, which feeds the bad bacteria in your gut, then they're taking that because what they're trying to do is bring in some of that healthy, good bacteria into their gut, i.e. into their ecosystem. So the foods that our body is designed to eat are foods that come from nature, nature's own ecosystem. And this microbiome, what that means is that from a genetic point of view, we are pretty much as human beings, 99% the same. But from our own ecosystem, our own microbiome, all of that bacteria, viruses, everything that's going on in your system, your own ecosystem, we are 100% different. So making sure that you are able to tune into what your body is telling you and what your body needs is super crucial to creating your own personalized nutrition plan. So if we look at, for example, some of the diets that are out there. Just checking any questions. Okay. So if we look at some of the diets that are out there, we have a lot of diet trends that are in fashion right now, and some diets that have come out of fashion. If we look at history, we can see what's happened there, right? We can see how, firstly, people were scared of fats. And so actually, it probably went, I would say now, if I look back, it was sugar. Sugar was the enemy first, right? And then fats became the enemy. And you can see how different food groups have been ostracized. People create fears around them. So when Atkins, which was in fashion all those years ago, came in, everybody was like, oh, great. And that was really about fats. That the modern day version of Atkins is practically the keto diet. When you look back at the original book of Atkins, what people took away from what he was saying was that they can eat all these, like so much cheese, so much meat, because they were all focused on proteins and fats, fatty foods, but they weren't taking away what that meant that they were removing, which was all of the processed foods, which feed our gut with all the bad bacteria. So now in our ecosystem, we all have this imbalance when we're taking too much bad bacteria. So we have this imbalance in our ecosystem. And so with the imbalance in our ecosystem, we're then led to all sorts of disease and sicknesses because those good bacteria that should be in balance and should be more encouraged to grow and thrive to support us is not being fed. Now, when you look at diets like Atkins, you can see when you look through clearly that was actually taking away some of that bad bacteria in the processed foods. Now, when we look at things like, the sugar education that we've had, we're now starting to realize that yes, food tastes amazing because sugar really sets off some of those neurotransmitters in our brain, like dopamine. So we get that hit, that feel-good hit, which makes us want to eat more of the foods that we associate with giving us that hit. So no surprise that those sugary foods are a lot of the processed foods. And all the processed foods, so let's think of these, pizzas, pastas, donuts, all those kind of beige in colour type of foods. They're the foods that are not giving us the right bacteria, the right support that our body needs for those friendly, good bacteria to thrive, which then improves our health, but then helps us to achieve our health goals, like losing weight, like feeling high in energy, like having a clear mind. All of those are achieved with those. So let's take diets, for example, like the plant-based diet. The great thing about the plant-based diet is regardless of what your viewpoint is politically, or some people go on the plant-based diet because of animal welfare, all of these are many reasons why to consider a plant-based diet. But when we look about it nutritionally, one of the great things of the plant-based diet is that it gets us back to eating one of the foods that our body was designed to eat, which is plants. The human DNA, look at ancestry, look at evolution. The one thing that we know that we had was the availability to plants. Okay, we call them fruits and vegetables now, and that's great, but that's one thing that our genetic design was there to eat. Yeah, it was designed to deal with, was the plants, okay? So by eating a huge array of plants, not only is our body designed to do that, but okay, great, we feed those microbes in our body that want to thrive to create a healthy, thriving ecosystem, okay? So that's the great thing about the plant-based diet. Now, what if you realize that by following the plant-based diet, you're low in energy, you don't feel strong, or your body's just sending you signs that this isn't working? Now, in my health coaching programs, when I work with people one-on-one in coaching, we monitor over set periods of time how someone's doing on things, because there is a natural detox time period where sometimes you feel worse before you feel better, as your body is removing toxins that have been stored in the body. So we all have to figure out what works for us. But let's say if you realize after a certain period of time that your body is sending you signs that it might need a little bit of meat, or it might need, some fish or a bit of egg, then you might decide that the plant-based diet is not right for you. Let's look at the keto diet. So the keto diet is based on the fact that you need to burn these ketones. So the keto diet is a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet because it's based on the fact that you are using two energy sources through foods: carbohydrates, which all convert to sugar, and fats. And fats is the body's preferred source of energy. So when you train your body to utilize its fat stores, and by giving it more fats, it no longer has these sugar cravings, and you no longer need to use sugar or carbohydrates that convert to sugar as this fuel source, which is from a nutrition creation or a meal, let's say creating your own diet plan. What's great about that is that, okay, when you remove a lot of carbohydrates, then when we look at the modern day diet, a lot of those carbohydrates are processed foods, like the breads, like the pastas, like the noodles. Whereas there's no problem with carbohydrates as a real food, a whole food source. Think of potatoes, think of your whole grains, but most people aren't eating those. So the keto diet, one of the things that it does is great. It switches on your body's ability to burn fat more efficiently. But one of the other amazing things is that for most people in a modern day world, it removes a lot of those processed carbohydrates that they've been eating. So some people go on the keto diet going, okay, yeah, I feel great, but they can't sustain it. And the reason they can't sustain it is that the amount of carbohydrates that they're taking might not be suitable to their lifestyle or their needs, okay? And maybe they're being too strict on the keto diet. Maybe they need to circle. So you need to find out what is it that works for you. Again, when we test out personalized nutrition, we tailor into your lifestyle. We tailor into your needs right now. For some women, in certain periods of their life or in their menstrual cycle, they might not do well on the keto diet. For the elderly, they might not do well on a keto diet. So these are some ways, but again, you might find others that absolutely do. They hit that category. They're elderly, they're women, so many different factors that individual has that might mean they do amazing on it. I personally do great on a keto diet. The other diets are low carbs as well, right? Just generally low carb diets. And so, for example, I see here in Asia where a lot of Asians have been told not to eat rice, and rice was their staple that all of their ancestors who didn't have the modern day diseases that a lot of the people that I see in Asia have, like diabetes, cholesterol issues, obviously obesity. They didn't have these diseases. But now I see a lot of Asians being told not to eat rice, avoiding rice because they're eating too many carbs. But I see them eating bread and processed foods, right? So these are the things where you have to understand where some people in the West don't do well on rice. That wasn't a carb source that was their staple. And so their body doesn't metabolize it as well. Whereas, in Asia, especially, I see in Asia now moving more towards whole grain rice. Okay, but there's so many things around that whole grain rice. That whole grain brown rice has a certain fiber part to it that's much more difficult to digest for certain people. So it's no surprise to me that when I look at the Asian evolution, they were eating white rice as the staple, which has a completely different starch to it that's much more easier to digest. So you see there's so many different ways that we can see that our ancestors naturally found the right personalized diets for them based on, again, their microbes, their DNA, and their lifestyle factors, which is why personalized diets are really important. So with that, how do you create your own personalized diet plan? Okay. So the way that you do that is you firstly think about the main reasons why we do anything, because we believe it's going to make us happy, right? We want to lose weight because we think it's going to make us more happy. You know, we want to eat pizza because we want to feel that happy hormone release that we get from that 50-50 ratio of fats and sugars that foods contain, like pizza. You know, all the reasons we do anything is really for inner peace and happiness. So we think about what makes us happy, right? And one of the ways to look at that with creating a customized nutrition plan is that what foods from certain cuisines do you love? So for example, I love Mexican cuisine. I love the fact that it's corn-based and I'm gluten-free, so I know that I can get that starchy textures from the corn-based stuff that they have, like the tacos and the corn chips, without, you know, risking my gluten-free diet. I love that I can get, you know, good fats like avocado very easily, guacamole in my Mexican cuisine, and because I like spicy food, there's always those spicy salsas that I can get. I love Indian cuisine because I come from a place where it was very near. So I come from the north of, I lived in the north of England, Leeds, and it was very near to Bradford, which had a huge Indian population. So I grew up having amazing Indian cuisine. And so I'm very used to spicy cuisine. I love all of the flavors that came in. It's so easy to eat a ton of vegetables, you know, and get great protein source from plants, peas, pulses, lentils that you see in Indian cuisine. When they do have meats and fish, I can have them cooked healthily by the tandoori style of cooking. These are all the reasons, you know, the spices, the flavors, and all the medicinal spices that go into Indian cuisine makes me absolutely love that cuisine. I find it so easy to eat an array of flavors and enjoy that cuisine. Another cuisine that I love is Latin cuisine, because I grew up spending all my summers in Spain. So that Mediterranean diet of, you know, extra virgin olive oil, you know, dressed over roasted Mediterranean vegetables and fresh fish and seafood, you know, good wine. This was something I grew up with. It makes me happy. And it also allows me to, now that I've found ways to eat those cuisines, I also know I can have personalized nutrition this way. So finding cuisines that you love is a really good way. The second way is looking at your ancestral background. So your DNA is given to you by your parents, theirs from their parents, and theirs from theirs. So in that blueprint, imagine your DNA, your genetic blueprint, imagine a map, your own personalized encoding, that's passed down to you. So for example, for me, having Costa Rican and Caribbean ancestry, it's no surprise to me that when, you know, living in Singapore, I look at the positioning of where those islands are, and they're pretty much at the same place in the equator. Tropical foods, so I'm in love with things like coconuts and pineapples and mangoes, but all of my ancestors did well with those and had those foods. When I eat those foods, even when I eat the foods like the root vegetables, like green banana, yam, sweet potato, all of these foods were foods that my ancestors had. Rice and peas, that was a staple in Jamaican cuisine. All of those did well. When I have rum, my body metabolizes it so much better than when I try to drink a whiskey, you know? And so when we look at these foods, I noticed in myself that my body sings when I have those foods. You know, I stayed away from rum-based cocktails because of the sugar content for so long. But I did start to notice when I went to gin and tonic that actually my body processes the rum so much better. No wonder all of my ancestors had sugarcane. So they knew how to process that sugar that comes from rum slightly different, slightly better. You know, their body was given the blueprint to be able to metabolize that so much better than, for example, the Scottish that were having whiskey as their, you know, distilled alcohol of choice. So you can see how by looking at your ancestral pathways and the cuisines and the foods that they ate. So try to go back 3 generations and look at what their foods ate, and that will give you another sign. Lastly, another thing that I always work with my clients is to look at their lifestyles. So what does your life look like? So I have clients that are like time-constrained individuals. I have busy moms, that working moms, stay-at-home moms. I have busy bankers, executives, finance, IT, marketing, advertising professionals that some of them run their own business, entrepreneurs. And some of them, they just don't have time for breakfast. They're literally up in the morning. You know, imagine if they had kids, they've got to sort all that out before they go to work, or they're out, you know, they're straight out. And so they don't have time for breakfast. And so one of the things that I had to do was look at breaking the fast as the mentality that they needed, which is what is their first meal of the day look like, as opposed to having breakfast at that time in the morning that the food industry has taught us that we should have breakfast at, because they wanted to sell us breakfast cereals. And making sure that that first meal of the day floods their body with the nutrients that they need to really maintain throughout the day, as opposed to them feeling like they needed to have breakfast because breakfast was the meal that they were taught that they needed to have, and then not looking at what is actually the nutrients that their body's getting. Another type of typical mistake I see is with really sports-focused people that do endurance sports or weightlifting, all types of sports, and not thinking about how their lifestyle might match to the diet plan that somebody else is not on, right? So, for example, if you were an endurance athlete and then you decided to go on a low-carb diet, but in an endurance sport, you might need that instant sugar hit, but you also might need that low sustained energy source that you get from good fats. So if they went on a low carb diet, now what would happen is they might be removing that instant sugar hit that they need to be able to get them through that first part of that journey. Now, of course, with a keto diet, that would give them the good fats, the long sustaining energy that they need, but they might need that combination of both. So by not looking at their lifestyle and how that works from a sports perspective, they might find themselves on the wrong diet plan. So by pulling all this together, I hope you started to see how, by really looking at the different elements that, you know, I've talked about, like the things that you love, the things that you enjoy, right? The cuisines that you like, the lifestyle that you have, your genetic and ancestral pathways, your own ecosystem that is built up by your microbiome, your personalized blueprint that nobody else has apart from you. I hope you understand the importance of personalized nutrition. Now, I would like to invite you, if you feel that you would like to work with someone to create that personalized nutrition plan for you, to reach out to me. The best place to find information on all of my programs or my one-on-one coaching is on my website, elika.co. But I definitely do want to invite you also to a program that we're kicking off live this Wednesday, which is the Good Gut Guide. And that is my starter program. It's an amazing program for those that are really interested to start understanding what is their body needs from a personalized nutrition place. Because the Good Gut Guide, what we're doing here is we're looking at your own personalized microbes, your personal ecosystem, and we're looking at what is it telling you it doesn't want. And we're introducing so much in abundance of all of the foods that it loves. And so we have this complete reset for your gut. And so the Good Gut Guide is available on my website, but this Wednesday, I will be doing it live for it's a 10-day program, so I will be doing it live with you over on my Instagram channel, elika.health. So if you're excited about getting personalized nutrition, I invite you to either look at my website, elika.co, at the programs, or join this Wednesday. That's this Wednesday for those of you who are watching the replays, actually Wednesday the 20th of January. So I'll be on Instagram going live every day for 10 days for those of you that want to purchase the Good Gut Guide and do it together as a community. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Did you enjoy this topic? What questions do you have for me? Do leave me a comment below and I will make sure that I answer any questions that I receive. And if you like these sorts of videos and you definitely want to learn more about nutrition and health and how emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health is important to your overall long-term health goals, then please subscribe so that I can give you that accountability, because you're probably like me and you've come to realize that health is our true wealth. And we do need that accountability and that support on that journey. So I would love to be your accountability partner. So do subscribe to this channel if you want that support from me. Take care.